Yesterday we shook off the cobwebs and after a long winter's wait got the 2025 GT World Challenge Asia powered by AWS season underway. Today, race 2 where the pros begin and then the amateurs take over for the second half of the race. It is once again, as you would expect here in Sepang, a warm and humid morning. And with quite little track action, plenty of festivities both in the paddock and on the circuit. Always lovely to have the cultural traditions of each circuit we join out there on the grid to welcome the drivers and the cars to a full grid of 32 cars once again going racing for our second race of the weekend. Race 2, round 2 of the 2025 season. Welcome along, my name is Ben Constanduras. We're going to guide you through our 1 hour race, which is the first weekend of the season. We'll be going to Mandalika in Indonesia for our next race, the very first four-wheel competition that they will host in international sense. And then we will heading to the heartland, Japan. But what happened yesterday? Here's me telling you. Race 1 of the GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS in Sepang, and a great start from Frankie Cheng on the pole to lead with clear air into turn 1 in the 45 Audi. But the other Audi on the front row of Uno Racing, Sean Tong, initial contact with a Ferrari, a second squeeze there, and then that pink Audi going around in the middle of the pack and causing just a little bit of chaos that some of them had predicted. He nicked the number 4 of Lu Wei. That caused a puncture to Lu Wei, and look at the chaos further back. And that included an effective retirement from Prince Abu Ibrahim in the 66 Corvette. Plenty of sorting out to do then in the first part of the race with our AM drivers, and then after 10 minutes of safety car and not too many laps for the AMs, they got the cars in to change over to the pro drivers, or for Frankie Cheng, his silver-haired driver James Liu. 8 seconds extra in the pits meant that James Liu dropped to 3rd position behind the Anthony Liu and Dorian Boccolacci Porsche, and it left Leo Yi at the head of the field. Origin and R&B have been victorious in Sepang in both 2023 and 2024, and Leo looked unchallenged. Further back though, plenty of sorting out to do. Unfortunately, Daniel Frost in the number 77 Craft Bamboo Mercedes effectively retiring. There was a little bit of contact there from the number 44 of Ling Kang, who was under huge amount of pressure from Daniel Liu, and also involved in that Nico Menzel, who we welcome back to the championship. Alex Sims inheriting his Corvette from Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim and sliding his way up into 4th position. Maxime Lucet had already done that in the BMW to move himself up onto an overall podium for the silver AM BMW, but untouched was Leo Ye in the Porsche. It's a Porsche 1-2 for race 1 here in Sepang, with Dorian Boccolacci coming home in 2nd position. A brand new team for Boccolacci and for Anthony Liu, but celebrations from our champions of last year, winners in 2025. Fair to say that the Porsche is looking incredibly strong in the first race. How will they fare in this second race, with the pro drivers starting and then their amateur partners taking the second half of the race? Don't forget that that safety car in the first 10 minutes of race 1 would have had a massive effect on the influence of the amateur driver, and so we will see a very different character to the race today. Here is the championship overall standings after our race 1, with Bob Wan and Leo Ye, our champions from last year, once again at the head of the standings. Champions from 2 years ago, Anthony Liu partnering Dorian Boccolacci 2nd, and then what a great run from Maxime Hussein and Tony Ruan in 3rd position. They will start well up the field again today, and therefore expecting really big things from the BMW. crowds are gathering around the circuit. There is forecast, as there tends to be most days here in Malaysia, for rain. It's a 5.5-kilometre circuit, a big favourite, and it's become a big favourite to so many drivers around the world that have had the opportunity to experience these sweeping mid-speed turns. The turn 15 hairpin with that iconic grandstand on the inside of it, very off camber, can be really challenging in the wet, and it's quite a challenge in the dry. Our camera particularly shows how hard that hairpin at the end of the lap is. Built in 1999 by Helmut Tilke and hosted 19 Grand Prix. Pretty much the same conditions as yesterday, perhaps not quite as much sun in the sky. The humidity up to 66%. There is the possibility of a bit of rain at the end of our race. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen. We're going to go down to the grid now, and pole was taken by Ralph Aron in race 2. A great performance with all of those pro drivers. Let's speak to him now with Emily.
Okay, race 2, we have the pole position. Ralph Aron right next to me. Ralph, talking about yesterday, is the car all fixed?
The car is all fixed. The mechanics did a great job again. The contact wasn't too big, but unfortunately we couldn't continue the race. But I mean, the car is fully fixed, so we are ready today.
Great to hear that. But yesterday you missed half an hour of your session, but you started from pole position today. How are you feeling all about that?
It should be fine. It's quite a long run down into turn 1. Let's see if I can hold the pole position. But yeah, if we come out of P1 in turn 1, it should be fine. Even if we don't, it's a long race, so anyway, we go for the win.
Well, we're all waiting for a big, big smile on your face in a few hours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the number 2 Climax Mercedes caught up in a little bit of contact out of those first few corners. It was a puncture, but also some suspension damage to the Mercedes, which meant that they had to retire out of the race. From the naked eye, from our eye outside the circuit, we could see the puncture, but we couldn't see the suspension damage, and we were kind of asking why they had retired the car, but that is the reason as to why. They fixed the suspension damage, and Ralph Aron will start from the pole position. His brother racing over in Bahrain, Paul in Formula 2, and Ralph, the older brother, both from Estonia. He partners Mike Joe in that Climax Racing number 2, who has taken a victory in the past in Suzuka last year with Gounon. I was about to say Jean-Marc Gounon, but no, I think he probably is retired by now. There is Alexander Sims jumping aboard the JMR Corvette. What a beautiful, beautiful livery they have. We talked about the BMW looking very strong. Let's go and talk to Maxime on the grid.
So we have Maxime right next to me. You were just going to jump on the car, sorry for that. Maxime, yesterday it was a podium for race 1. I'm sure you and the team were very, very happy. The car seems very good.
Yeah, it was first weekend of the season, first race of the year as well. So last year I joined 4 races, and this is the first overall podium. So I hope we can continue like this.
Do you feel the car can go more higher? Feeling like you can go even higher today?
Yeah, we need to see. I'm surrounded now by a lot of pros, so let's see what we can do. I try my best.
Best of luck to you.
Maxime, he is a silver driver, and he is surrounded by pro drivers and got that BMW onto 3rd position on the grid, which is really very impressive considering that he has limited experience versus the drivers around him. Alexander Sims just behind him, Ralph Aron ahead, Dorian Boccolacci ahead of him as well. And so Maxime should be really proud not only of what they'd managed to do yesterday, but where he will start this race. He's done a lot of driving in Europe and joined this series at the end of last year. His performance in GT Masters, particularly over in Europe, 2nd in 2024. He also did the GT World Challenge Europe sprint season, so has built a lot of experience weekend on weekend in the BMW, but a really impressive result. Let's go down to Emily once more. She's got Alexander Sims.
Yes, I do have Alexander right next to me. He's just going to start the race in just a few minutes. So Alexander, this is a new team, it's a new car. How is all setting in for you?
Yeah, this Corvette is working well so far. JMR's done a great job to get ready for the season. And yeah, to be honest, we've had a pretty smooth weekend so far. Yesterday's race was good. You know, we started 13th and ended up finishing 4th, so that was a very good start. Yeah, today's race is going to be challenging. All the cars around us are very similar speed, and they're all good drivers, so we'll see how it goes. Enjoy it, and yeah, just hope for the best. But all good.
Best of luck to you. Thank you so much. Have a good race.
Alexander Sims always so chilled, isn't he? On the grid, 4th position. The King is here. The King is here to support JMR, the father, of course, of the princes that are so active within that team. And the King of Malaysia has come to support their sons. So there's a bit of pressure in that garage. Since we last went racing here in Asia, we've had a 6-hour race in Europe, which has changed the global manufacturer standings since yesterday. And BMW now with a healthy advantage over Mercedes and Porsche, but we are expecting good performances from Porsche here in Asia. So as this global manufacturer standings, which takes into consideration America, Australia, Asia and Europe, develops every single weekend, and very, very interesting to see that what happened over in Europe, in Paul Ricard in France, has given a massive advantage to BMW, maybe even more pressure to Maxime Hussein. Although, of course, when we talk about championship standings, we have a long way to go in the year. We are only... Are we in April yet? Well, we were in April, yes, that's fine. There is Dorian Boccolacci, a massive star in Okayama last year when he came to a circuit he'd never been to before, joined a series he'd never joined before, and absolutely starred. Didn't take a victory, but was very, very successful with a 3rd. He was on the podium. He is a Porsche Carrera Cup France champion, and now a works driver in Asia Pacific. But most excitingly, out of all of his stats and his career progression, he also came 2nd in the Andros Trophy. And if you are a motorsport fan, then you know that that is the epic of coolness. He is also very, very good influencer online, so make sure you check him out. And has a massive following. There is the outside of the 99 car of Alexander Sims. We saw Alexander inside with his customary legendary helmet. I spoke yesterday about his experience here at Sepang. He's only ever raced here once before. That was in race 1 yesterday. And he'd only experienced the circuit once before, back in 2008, where he came to do Formula BMW Pacific testing. And before Macau, got a chance to try out the Formula BMW Pacific car, which was, to be fair, the same as what he'd be driving in Europe, here in Malaysia. But what a massive difference between this and then Macau, where he went and raced it a few weeks later. So knows the circuit, kind of, but obviously with all these pro drivers, it doesn't take a long time for them to get completely up to speed with it. And it's going to be fascinating to see Ralph Aron, Dorian Boccolacci, Maxime Hussein, and Alexander Sims all lining up alongside each other. This is what I love about these global championships. You get these amazingly strong drivers coming up against some of the best local drivers like Leo Ye here, and racing wheel to wheel and providing us with incredible excitement. Middle of the shot there, by the way, Craft Bamboo's number 77, Daniel Frost. He had a power steering issue yesterday. Do you remember, halfway through the race, we saw him going through the first turn in a battle with about 4 or 5 other cars and just sort of running wide and letting them all pass, and then he disappeared. They did manage to get all the way to the end of the race in that Craft Bamboo Mercedes, which meant they got the points, which meant they stood on the podium in the silver class, because actually silver only have 4 different drivers in that, or sorry, combinations in the silver class. And by finishing the race, picked up the points and got a 3rd position, because the 4th car, the Uno Racing Audi, had already retired. But they did have to limp that car around with power steering issues. All fixed today, though. Excited to see what Daniel Frost can do, who's kind of reigniting his career after a few years away from racing. Yellow flags flying for the 2nd JMR car. Now gets it going. So had he dropped to the back of the field, he'd have had to start from the back of the field. But I think he's just going through the processes and getting that all sorted a bit slower than the rest. Let's take a look then at the full grid for this 2nd race. A reminder that if you are a pro AM or silver AM, then it is the silver or the pro that will start. If you are an AM or a silver, then it is the person who qualified in Q2. So Ben Porter, the only driver on his own this weekend because Andrew McPherson fell ill, and so he's doing all the duties himself. Frank Chang and James Yu, pole for silver, as they were yesterday. They were on pole for the race yesterday, if you remember. And then Maxime Hussein and Tony Ruan on the pole for silver AM, and the pole for pro-am, and the pole for the race is Ralph Aron and Mike Jones. So Aron lines up against Boccolacci on the front row. Porsche's so strong yesterday. That car, very strong yesterday. Hussein and Alexander Sims, they raced each other yesterday for third position. Kind of equal in terms of pace. Jaden Ojeda had a pretty poor first race, unfortunately, for that Craft Bamboo Mercedes. Bastien Bus alongside him. Leo Ye, the winner yesterday, down in 7th position to start this race, alongside young Lorenzo Patrese. Good morning, Ricardo. He's in the garage somewhere, watching his son. Jordan Love in 9th. It was Jordan that was slow away from the grid, but that should be good. He lines up alongside Marcus Winkelhock, probably the only driver in our field who has a Formula 1 start to his name. Nico Menzel in 11th. And then Yuki Kamamura, the only of the Porsche Center Kawasaki cars here this weekend. We've got 2 entered for the championship, but only 1 able to join us. And then the silver pole down in 13th for James Yu. Not happy with that lap at all. Akish Nandi in 14th, then David Chen in 15th position, alongside Dylan Pereira, a man that you expect to see at the very top of the timing standards, but only qualifying in 15th. Adli Fong, 17th position, and just 4 back. And then the front row car from yesterday, Rio, in 19th position, alongside Daniel Liu in 20th spot. Jean-Baptiste Simonauer in the absolute course of Ferrari, 21st, and then the Gojizen 500 in 22nd position. Patrick Pilet, could you believe he's down there in 23rd position? That's absolute Porsche not working really very well for the 2 of them. Seiji Ara in 24th position. Lin Kang, and then Daniel Frost down in 26th position. We spoke a little bit about them. I would imagine that car to be moving up through the field. William Porter's amazing qualifying in race 1. Wasn't able to translate that in the second race, so only qualified 27th, alongside Renaud Renger, who was our GT4 champion back in, was it 2017? Maybe 2018. But he is back. Welcome back. And Dominic Ang in 29th. Martin Berry in 30th position. And then the back of the field, Christian Colombo, the Ferrari head coach. And one more Ferrari at the tail of the field from LM Corsa, and it is Shikazu Okazaka who will start. There is the King of Malaysia, His Royal Highness, coming down. It was his wife yesterday, the Queen, who was here to support the 2 sons. Fantastic, and what an honour to have the King of Malaysia with us. And he's there to support his 2 sons in the JMR. The new team, Johor Motorsport, carrying the name of the region of Malaysia in which they are sultans. That is a departure for the 2 princes. They were previously run by 888 in a Mercedes. Now they're doing their own thing, their own team. Great partnership with Corvette. They rolled in to the paddock this morning in their Corvette road cars. So they're really not just a customer that has bought a car here. They are absolutely invested fully in Corvette and the brand and running their team. And of course, Alexander Sims, a works Corvette driver, being brought in to that team as well. I understand Sims will be here for as many races as he possibly can be, but there may be 1 or 2 clashes with his IMSA commitments, his WeatherTech championship over in America, where Corvette's works team takes priority. So we might not see him at every single race, which would be a shame. But we are now getting our cars lined up in 2x2 formation. They are behind the safety car. I think the time of the race has begun. Yes, it has. So that was our 2nd safety car lap, as we had yesterday. And then we will get our race underway. very slow down the back straight. I think as we saw yesterday, actually, they were very well bunched together. But a reminder, it is a side-by-side, 2x2 race start. The formation lap, the second formation lap due to the humidity in the circuit. But for many of the drivers in the field, the pro drivers really wouldn't have been worried too much about that. On board with the 99, Jordan Love. Sorry, the 66 there, Jordan Love, right in the middle of the pack. Leo Ye in the 87, able to keep up with the very best in the world, Leo Ye. We saw that yesterday. He extended his advantage at the head of the field. So this is going to be very exciting. We've got pro drivers at the head of the field, the best from around the world, ready to battle it out in Asia. And what a great start once again from the pole position. The Mercedes with great acceleration, and Ralph Aron has clear track ahead of him and around him as he heads towards turn one. Max Hussein has got the inside line on Dorian Boccolacci in the BMW. They run side by side. Boccolacci's going to try and brave it out around the outside, which gives you the inside for the second turn, and it looks to be a little bit more clean than we saw yesterday. Just look at the background, make sure there's not too much carbon fibre flying. No, it looks okay. So we've all managed to get through. Still side by side for second position. Hussein versus Dorian Boccolacci. Boccolacci now moves to the inside line for turn 4. Later on the brakes, dives down the inside, but Hussein goes around the outside and holds it. Here's Alexander Sims watching on as well. Was there a little tap on Dorian Boccolacci? Because Boccolacci was delayed and Sims looks down the inside there. It's not really a passing place, but he tried it yesterday, and again he tries it here. Sweeps through the left, through the right. All of this fighting, by the way, allowing Ralph Aron to relax into the seat and start building an advantage. And there in the number 4 is Bastian Boos. We didn't see that number 4 purple liveried Porsche yesterday. It got a puncture at the first turn, and Lu Wei was having to retire that car into the pit lane. A little bit more sorting out, doing further back. This is Marcus Finkelhoff looking down the inside of Akish Nandi. Expect to see Marcus get himself up from that 14th position. Not a great qualifying for a man who is now an Audi Works driver over here in Asia Pacific. For many, many years, of course, an Audi Works driver in Europe, and multiple Nürburgring wins to his name. On board with Go Jizhen in the Nissan. Right in the middle of the pack, 17th position at the moment for Yu Kanemaru. It's all very well behaved on lap 1. Good work from our drivers. Leo Ye there looked like he was under pressure from Jordan, not from Jordan, from Jaden. From Jada. That is for 17th position. So Aron, Hussein, Boccolacci, Sims looking to the outside. Not much doing there for Alexander Sims, but he knows that he needs to really push on. All of these pros will have in their back of their minds that they need to put this car in the best possible position for their amateur drivers to jump in. And not only do that, but also give them a car with good tyres, with good brakes, with good suspension. Look after the car so it's nice for the amateur driver to pick up, as well as a good position. So it's a really fine balance. It is not just push as hard as you possibly dare. Sims looks around the outside of that first part to go on the inside. That's going to compromise him massively. Surely Bastian Boos is going to take advantage of that. We do have a Ferrari into the pits. I think that's Lorenzo Petresi has brought his Winnie Harmony Racing Ferrari into pit lane, which is a great shame. Although actually Petresi showing still as 11th on the timing screens. The 96, David Chen. And yes, it is David Chen, unfortunately, in pit lane. That is one of our silver entries. Very, very strong yesterday in the hands of Andy Deng. So a great shame for Winnie. The incident has occurred, has been investigated, and no further action on that one. So coming to the end of the second lap then. Climax Racing. Team KRC. Phantom Global Racing with that colours in third position this year. Remember, that was an Absolute Racing Porsche last year. It's now a Phantom Global Racing Porsche, although it's completely the same livery. And then JMR, Johor Motorsport Racing, in fourth position. Alexander Sims crawling all over the back of Dorian Boccolacci. Looks to the inside, there's no space there. Boccolacci still under pressure, so much from Sims, who looks to the inside, but not quite enough of a braking zone to be done there. Have a look at the start once again. It's all very clean. Hussein looks to the inside, squeezes Boccolacci to the outside. I thought that might open the door for Alexander Sims, but Hussein was slow and careful on the inside line. Sims had to go a bit defensive on Bastien Boost to kind of squeeze him out. See in the middle of the pack if there was anything with the 96. No, no sign of anything. Race control saying Boccolacci has had a 5-second penalty added to the pit stop for race start. I can only imagine he was holding back away. He should be side by side with Ralph Aron. I mean, there's no advantage in being behind, is there? But he has been given a 5-second penalty to be taken at the pit stop. So he'll be 5 seconds slower in the pits because he was not alongside Ralph Aron at the time of the green light. That was a difference from yesterday. Oh, a little dive down the inside here from Nico Menzel. Looking to try and get past Jaden Ojeda. Quite often that camera shot makes you feel as though they're more alongside than they actually are because of the way that they turn into that corner. They actually wait quite late before hooking up the apex. So you think that there might be a possibility and there isn't. Yesterday we saw a really good start from Frankie Chen. At the time where the lights turned from red to green, the driver alongside him, Sean Tong, was alongside him. So there was no penalty given. But on this occasion, they've given Boccolacci a penalty for holding back. Not quite sure how you decide whether the leader is faster or the second place is slower. Presumably there is, well, they do have GPS being sent into the garages of the governing body. So maybe they felt that Aron was at the good speed and Boccolacci was too slow. That's a shame for that car because that's going to put, if we have any kind of interruptions with the safety car, it's going to put him right down in the middle of the pack. But at the moment, Boccolacci not looking as strong and as amazing, perhaps, as we saw in Okayama last year. Okayama was in those slightly damp conditions where he really starred. He was in a dry tyre shod Porsche in damp to wet conditions. It was just amazing, but these early laps, Sims crawling all over the back of him, and there's a bit of a queue being developed behind Boccolacci with Sims, Boos, Jordan Love is in there, and then Leo Ye, Ojeda, Menzel, and Patrese in 10th position in the 55. And then there's a little bit of a gap to our pole car from yesterday, that 45 car of James Yu. That's the fastest of our silvers. And actually unchallenged really at the moment for silver, so far ahead of the rest. But as you would say, is Max Hussein, who's second position right now in silver AM. He leads. Patrese in 10th position is the second of the silver AMs. So big gap between the two silver AMs for the moment. His first corner, much like the last corner really, you brake kind of into the apex, so it closes down the opportunity to be able to make a passing move. Some work going on here from Patrick Pilet in the 911, crawling all over the back of Akish Nandi. It's Nandi that's falling back in this first stint in that brand new Lamborghini for Absolute Corsa. It's an Absolute Racing Porsche that is crawling over the back of him, so effectively from the same stable. And they go side by side through these long, sweeping left-handers. Surely Nandi won't allow that to happen. He turns in and squeezes Pilet. It's not really an overtaking opportunity at those two corners, but coming out of that slower corner turn 4, it always feels like you've got the chance, but it would be a bit of a crazy one. You need to be hard on the brakes. This is a good corner to do an overtaking move if you're close enough, and Pilet dives down the inside, claims the apex. He's going to go a little bit deep into the corner, but that's okay, you see, because the circuit then goes to the right-hand side, so you're kind of naturally covering off your competitor. So Nandi dropping down a position, Simonauer and Forbach also swapping positions just behind there. So Jean-Baptiste Simonauer up to 17th position in the Ferrari, ahead of Anders Forbach, and now Anders looks to the inside. The part owner of High Class Racing joining us here in Asia for the first time, and he gets that position done. So that's a swap back again, isn't it, for Forbach? And he moves himself up to 17th position. So good battling, maybe not the head of the field, but as you say, there's always lots of sorting out to be done in the early laps. Absolute should have had 2 of those Lamborghinis here for first round, and they'll definitely have 2 in Mandalika coming up in a few weeks' time. Very, very excited to go to Mandalika and welcome along to all of the officials that are here this weekend in Malaysia, getting a feel for the championship. It's an international championship going to Mandalika for the first time. Yes, of course, that has happened on 2 wheels. They've hosted the MotoGP. They've never had an international 4-wheeled event go to Mandalika. Into the pits underneath me, I've just seen, sadly, the 77 Craft Bamboo Mercedes of Daniel Frost. So they had power steering issues yesterday, and they're in the pits once again. That means that is a technical issue for the 77. And there he is. Is there any damage to that car? They are having a look at the splitter to see maybe whether he's gone wide. But now under the bonnet to see if there's maybe an overheating issue. Yeah, they're looking in to see if there's any water or anything else like that. So Mercedes overheating in these 30-degree temperatures. And it has been a bit of a weekend to forget for Darrell O'Young's team. That 77 car with a power steering problem yesterday. That potentially could have been a power steering problem going on again there, actually, come to think of it. And then the 31 of Tao Chi and Jaden Ojeda also not having a particularly strong run. There they are in the middle of the pack. 8th position right now. And it looks like the Lamborghini of Akish Nandi is under pressure once more, as the 46 and the 45 running together. So this is James Yu, Kamimura and Marcus Winkelhock in the 46. Nice to be able to check in, see anything of Marcus yesterday. In terms of GT racing, probably the most legendary car or legendary driver in the field. He's now an Audi Asia Pacific Works driver. As I said before, he was a European-wide Audi Sport driver, GT1 World Champion. Remember those epic cars. He also won the Pro-Am Championship in Europe back in 2018. So in the world of GT racing, Marcus Winkelhock is an absolute star, and it's so good to have somebody like him here in our field. And then, of course, you could reference the only driver to start first and last in the same Grand Prix, and the only driver to lead a race in his first start and also crash out. In Formula One, that is. It's a great stat. But it's one he probably doesn't want to be remembered At the head of the field, Ralph Aaron. Not a massive advantage still ahead of Maxime Hussein. It's 0.8 of a second. That's what 0.8 of a second looks like. And Max does have the slightly faster of the laps. Say, very, very strong run from Max. A bit of a surprise, perhaps, to everybody over here in GT World Challenge Asia to see the progress of Max's performance from last year to this. He really has made a big step up, running second, running at the pace of Ralph Aaron, and extending his advantage again over Dorian Boccolacci, up to 2.4 seconds. Alexander Sims sitting behind Dorian. Did this quite a bit yesterday, didn't he, Simsy? Was behind Jordan Love in qualifying. Got caught up by Jordan Love in qualifying, actually, because in practice he was the fastest car out on circuit. And then in race one, when he took over the car from Prince Jeffrey, did have to get past, was it the 45 that he had to overtake? I think it was, of James Yu. Maxime Hussein, we didn't see it on the screen, but basically he drove up to the back of James Yu and instantly pounced, as you are told to when you are coached in your early stages of your racing career. Don't sit behind another driver and kind of suss them out. If you can get up to the back of them and overtake them straight away, that element of surprise is very, very useful. And Dorian, you see here, will be getting comfortable with Alexander Sims sitting behind him. He will be less and less worried every single lap about what Simsy might do, and certainly if they're that close, but Simsy's not diving down the inside or making any rash moves, then Dorian's kind of happy with this situation. And Maxime yesterday on James Yu caught, passed, disappeared, whereas Alexander Sims caught, sat around for a bit, and we followed a couple of those laps, and then eventually managed to do a very nice clean pass into the final hairpin. But at the moment, Simsy not really finding a comfortable enough advantage to make a clean pass. That's what he's looking for, I imagine, because he doesn't want to risk this car. Ultimately, these pro drivers are here for the amateur driver that they are going to hand these cars over to. So if a pro driver ends up crashing the car, that does not look good to the gentleman driver. So as a pro driver, that's kind of probably rule number one to avoid. Here's a teammate. The 66 of Jordan Love looks down the inside of Bastien Bus. Didn't see very much of the 66 yesterday, unfortunately. Prince Abu Bakr getting caught up at this corner on lap one. And then once they had repaired all the bodywork damage on that car, he was 2 laps down, and then it was a bit of a test session for them. This is much stronger from the 66 so far, sitting in 6th position. So Sims in 4th, Love in 6th. Actually, I expected that we'd seen Jordan Love a lot more in this championship than we actually had. This is his 3rd race start. Bit of a sort of, let's say, pseudo-works driver for the 888 over in Australia. And that's where he met the Princes, and they've brought him over into their team. Works Mercedes driver for many years, and that's how he ended up with that kind of role. But this year, driving a Ferrari in Australia, in the Australian GT World Challenge, and then driving this Corvette over here. A reminder of the rules then. Pit window opens in 2.5 minutes and is open for 10 minutes. But those Pro Am entries, those Silver Am entries, they will stay out until the end of the window. I imagine we might see the 45 come in quite early as a silver entry, and then the AMs can do what they like. Bastien Bus goes to the outside. Sorry, this is Nico Menzel trying to get past Jaden Ojeda. Goes to the outside to switch back and gets a little bit of an overlap here. This is for 8th position. Jada in the Mercedes, Nico Menzel in the Porsche. Turn 1 turns to the right, so Menzel having to go around the outside. That's not going to work, but the switchback might. That's quite nice. Jada has the inside line for turn 2 though, and just hangs around on that apex a bit longer to stop the GTO Racing Porsche from claiming it. So stays as is for the moment, but great to have Nico Menzel back with us. He was with us in 2017 when the championship began. We haven't seen the German driver ever since. So very much a welcome back to the 2016 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion. They are being pursued there by Lorenzo Petresi in the 55. And the more they fight, the more they go side by side like that, the more that Petresi's going to catch them. Petresi also a driver that has switched from one brand to another. Now, what has happened here? Aron and Hussein have both dropped about a second to Boccolacci and Sims, and now look how much closer the second two are to the first two. It was a relatively slow lap for both Aron and Hussein. They did a 2 minutes 6.7. Boccolacci did a 2 minutes 5.9, and Sims matched him. So they took a second out of the front two on that last lap alone. 2:04.4 is the fastest lap of the race, and there is the gap progression. So it was all in that last lap. They've just taken a chunk of time out of the front two. Now, is that tyre usage? 31 degrees. Have Boccolacci and Sims brought their Pirelli tyres in a little bit kinder than Aron and Hussein, and now it's paying dividends for them. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, all in the same shot for the lead of the race. It might be that Ralph Aron is starting to struggle in the Mercedes, and Hussein is kind of, rather than feeling the ambition to go and try and get past, as pit window is open now, so we've got a few cars coming in, led by the number 5 Plus with BMW M Team Studi, and Uno Racing 16 as well, coming in early to get Rio out and put Sean Dong in, because we know how strong a silver Sean Dong is from his qualifying. Great to have that really strong pink Uno Racing livery with us this year. A new team to GT World Challenge Asia, and qualifying second position in race 1. Definitely a standout performance for Audi, but unfortunately got rather bullied in the first couple of turns and found himself with quite a bit of damage on all 4 corners of the car. Right, so now looks like Ralph has tried to stretch that advantage a little bit, and it has grown a couple of tenths over Hussein. Still got probably another 5 or 6 minutes of these drivers, these pro drivers in these cars. We don't expect really to see any pit stops from the top 10 until later on in the window. But it does slightly shake everything up, because they may need to start dealing with traffic. Sims looks really good here, and they're going to get some traffic coming out onto the circuit as well. So Alexander Sims needs to be careful here. Has he clocked that BMW coming out the pits? If he wanted to dive down the inside, there would be an opportunity. Oh, I thought he might be able to box Dorian Boccolacci in. He's actually found himself on the wrong part of the circuit to do so. And Boccolacci using that BMW nicely just to help his defence of that 3rd position. But Boccolacci is compromised out of turn 2. Here comes Alexander Sims throughout for 3rd. Not the opportunity there either. Much more aggressive from the British driver this time by. And once again, crawling all over the back of him through turns 5 and 6. just not the place to overtake. And look, by that one move, how much they've lost ground to Maxime Rousset, as predicted. Frankie Chen jumping aboard the James U45 Phantom Global Racing Porsche, Audi, sorry. Phantom Global Racing running Porsches and Audis. And team owner Chris Chiapon is the late addition to Phantom Global Racing's number 13 Porsche. They've got drive-through penalties and all kinds of maladies yesterday. They're up to 13th, by the way, now. And Natalie Font aboard that car at the moment. So just those 2 corners of defending from Dorian Boccolacci, and they lose a second, boom, to Ralph Aron and Maxime Rousset. A reminder that I forgot yesterday, a new rule for 2025, plus 8 seconds for Silvers in the pits, so their pit stop is 8 seconds longer. Oh, here comes Simsy. What, much like he did yesterday, gives Dorian Boccolacci a bit of a squeeze on the exit. Boccolacci not quite as compliant as we saw from James Yu yesterday. There's still a little bit of an overlap for Boccolacci. Has the Corvette got the overlap? Can the Corvette fight back? The Corvette's not particularly strong in a straight line there. Sims desperately trying to shut the door, but Boccolacci had an overlap and there was contact. A little bit of contact there. And the wheel arch, the right wheel arch, is now dislodged. A little bit of damage, the tiniest bit of contact. What Simsy was trying to do there was to just have enough of an overlap to shut the door. And Boccolacci said, no, I'm still here, you can't do it. And there's been just the lightest bit of contact. JMR need to get some duct tape ready for that pit stop to just stick that back down again. Such a good opportunity for Alexander Sims, but Boccolacci fighting back with all elbows. I don't imagine the two of them have met each other on circuit before. But Boccolacci showing exactly what he's going to be like all year long. Here we go again. So this is the end of the straight. Boccolacci the inside. Sims turns in. And just the lightest touch of contact and the right front wheel arch dislodging. It's the 46, Marcus Winkelhock handing over to Bao Yinglong. So now we're starting to see some of the amateur drivers jumping aboard. It's quite early, still probably 1 or 2 laps possible. There's our leader in AM, Ben Porter in the 51. He loses 5 seconds in the pits because he's a single driver entry, so his pit stop 5 seconds slower than yesterday. And now into the pits comes Boccolacci. Now remember that number 1, Boccolacci, this car, this 37 car, has a 5-second penalty from being out of position at the start of the race. They also have a compensation penalty for being second in the race yesterday. Flag for Alexander Sims, which is a bit nasty, the driving standards. But he was just trying to be defending there. So this 37 has 90 seconds to sit in the pits. Then it has 5 seconds for a penalty for being out of position. And then it has another 10 seconds because of its second place overall yesterday. So that is 15 extra seconds over Ralph Aron, who obviously retired out of the race yesterday, so no success penalty for him. Lucent in the 89 has 5 seconds, and Alexander Sims has nothing. So Sims is going to move up, possibly even ahead of the 89. So the 99 and the number 2 are in the box seat. There's the 87, also, of course, with that 15 seconds extra pit stop for winning yesterday's race. So really, that is why you never see domination from one particular car in both races. The 87 leaves. Look at the bottom of your screen. The 37 staying in the pits, having to soak up. So basically these two have got exactly the same amount of penalty, but they are going to fall way down in the field. Anthony Liu in the 37 now, Bob Wan in the 87. But look at that, they come out almost similar time to Kanemaru in the 500, and Kanemaru was down in something like 20th position, so that's going to really hurt two cars that were right at the head of our field. Max Hussein then brings his car in to hand over to Mike Joe. And with 1.5 minutes remaining, pretty much everybody else now needs to come into the pits and exchange their drivers. Most of the pit stops should be 90 seconds, apart from Silver's. So the 45 is going to drop down the field, and that already has done. And then those top three from yesterday, the 89, the 87, and the 37. Well, this looks really good for Climax Racing. You can imagine that Ralph Aron handing over to Mike Joe, they're going to be very happy. Mike Joe should have a very strong lead at the end of this race over, if all the maths comes together, Jeffrey Ibrahim in the JMR. Prince Jeffrey should be second and should be in a relatively strong advantage, because they had about 2.5 seconds advantage over Bastian Boos in the number 4. Oh, what's happened here? Coming into the pits, the 66 of Jordan Love. The left rear either has fallen off, failed, or there's been contact. We need to get down to their pits to find out exactly what's going on. It's still attached to the hub, isn't it? Because there's still a bolt in the middle of it. So that is a failure, potentially, of the suspension. Although is there some contact? There is some telltale yellow scrapes on the rear left corner of that car. Oh, and that is not what JMR wanted at all. What a horrible weekend for the 66. It's not been bad for the 99, but Prince Abubakar, contact in race 1 on lap 1, and Jordan Love, potential contact. Full course yellow called as well, just as we got everybody out the pits. I think everyone is out the pits, but there must be some bodywork on track, and I think we might have be careful now, because our tracker starts showing cars that are stopped that are not. Anderson Tonotto in the 98 Ferrari dropped 8 positions on that last lap. That could have been a pit stop. And Tonotto is showing as not moving in the final sector of the lap. So is it Anderson Tonotto in the Ferrari that has made contact with Jordan Love? They possibly weren't on the same part of the circuit. But the Absolute Corsa 98 Ferrari is a car that has yellow markings. And there is yellow marks on the back of the Corvette. There's Alexander Sims. Great opportunity for Emily to go and talk to loads of drivers now that we've got a full course yellow, and loads of pro drivers out of their cars. She can go and ask Alexander Sims if he agrees on being given a driver standards flag for his defence. Did they get any black tape on the front of the 99? That's the question. So there's the 66. Let's see what happened. We've got an onboard in the car. So through this right hand, and somebody has spun just ahead of him, haven't they? Oh, yes. And it was Anderson Tonotto who spun ahead of him, and really unlucky there. Jordan Love has basically just understeered into the spinning car and he's just caught and broken that rear left suspension. Good work from the guys in the gallery to find that. I imagine there's quite a bit of Ferrari to be recovered then down at the penultimate turn, because that whole front end of that Ferrari comes off as one single piece. But, oh no, look at that. I imagine the other side is a bit more damaged than this side, but good work from the marshals to be able to drag it away. Gosh, and it barely looks damaged. Okay, they obviously build them strong down at Maranello. All the wheels are still moving. That was Anderson Tonotto's first step out the pits, I'm afraid. Very, very well-known Indonesian family. Tonotto Foundation, something very close to both Anderson and his sister's heart. Father owns a huge amount of industry. And great to have Anderson with us. Sadly, his second race rather stunted. Now, what happens usually, they'll go full course yellow, then they'll go into safety car, then they'll go back to racing. And that's kind of something that has developed over the years, introduced by Peter Daly a few years ago. And we do that, especially with amateur drivers, to get everything back up to temperature. So full course yellow slows them all down. In Europe, that means everything gets cold. And so you then go into safety car procedure, which allows the cars, weirdly, to speed up. And then everything gets back up to temperature, and then they can go back to racing again. So the poor old AMs yesterday were under safety car for 10 minutes of their stint, and today the same again. Right, whilst we relax in the commentary box, let's go down to Emily, who's in the pits.
Okay, we have Ralph here. Phenomenal job there. You brought the car back as P1. How was it out there?
Yeah, really good. It's very hot out there, as you can see, but a lot of fun. A lot of quick cars out there, and we all had a lot of tire degradation, so everybody had to do a lot of management. It wasn't full push the whole stint.
Okay. Now, full course yellow is happening. Fingers crossed for your teammate.
Yeah, it's still all fine. Mike took over the car in P1. I'm really confident in what he can do. He did a very good job last year with AMG, and I think he can only improve. So yeah, let's see.
Well, when I interviewed you just before the racing, I felt your confidence so much. Let's hope for a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there we go. That's exactly what we kind of speculated, wasn't it? At the end of that stint, the tyres just were not where they had been at the start of the stint, and they had to really manage them. And I think both Boccolacci and Sims had managed their tyres earlier on in the stint, and maybe Usain and Aaron had pushed a bit harder, and they all then came back together at the end of the stint. So we talked about the disadvantages from the pit stops, from the success of yesterday, and also the penalty, of course, for the 37. But when we go to safety car, we're going to bunch everybody out. So track position lost for the 37, who sits in 11th position, and also for the 87 down in 14th position. The BMW only dropped down to 4th, so only lost 2 positions. Such was the advantage that those top 4 had made over the rest of the field. And so they are in a pretty strong position, but they lose track position. They lose the track position, but they don't lose the amount of seconds that they would have done, because once we go to safety car, that is all nullified. So it is the number 2 that still leads, Climax Racing Mercedes, which was Ralph Aron, and it is now Mike Zhu. That's the top of the picture. And then we have Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim in the number 99 in 2nd position, taken over from Alexander Sims. And in 3rd, Bastien Bous's car, the number 4 Origin Porsche, now taken over by Liu Wei, who did no running yesterday, neither did Bastien Bous. It's another car that got a punt. Oh, let's go and have a chat with Dorian Boccolacci, very much one of those top 4.
Okay, we have Dorian over here. Dorian, some hard racing out there in your stint. What happened with the battles?
Yeah, so it's very difficult to have a car just behind, very fast on the straight, because yeah, actually it's catching me in the back straight and in the main straight. Difficult to defend, so I overpush a bit on the tires to stay with my position. It was our battle, Actually, one moment was quite tough on the straight. He just turned on me on the straight, so this was a bit dangerous, I think. Clearly dangerous, and everything was right. But yeah, I took 5-second penalty for the start, but I think this is not correct because you need to be side by side. But if you are side by side and you have the seat coming alongside your ace, you can't see even the car, so you must be a bit behind to see the car and to stay side by side. But at the end, they penalize, and I think it's not fair. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Very, very good point from Dorian Boccolacci that I don't think I had never actually thought about before. Now, weirdly, cars go faster once we go to safety car. That's why you can hear everyone accelerating because they're now catching up with the safety car. And we've got a field spread across the whole of the circuit. So we need at least one safety car lap to get everybody compressed before we go racing. There is the classic thing of safety cars breed safety cars. But there is our Toyota safety car picking up the leaders. And just going back on Dorian's point, in the seats of today, obviously not the racing seats that we had in the past, there is this head restraint that is designed into the seat. So you have effectively a cockpit to the left and to the right of your head. In the event of an accident, this protects your head from bouncing around too much inside the cockpit. But it does limit your vision to your left and to your right. So what Dorian Boccolacci is saying there is when I'm totally alongside another car, I can't see that other car because the seat head restraint is blocking that car. So I need to be a little bit behind so that I can see the car to my right side. And then I'm also at a disadvantage because I'm a little bit behind. And race direction punishing them for being a little bit behind, but it's an interesting one. Now, 86 with a investigation into their pit stop. There it is. Anders Fjorbach and Qirong Li. Remarkably, Qirong Li, Chinese-American, not been racing in GT World Challenge Asia before, but possibly one of the better-known Chinese drivers in the world of racing, because he's done a lot of American stuff and he's done a lot of European and Lamborghini stuff. Lights still on the safety car. Now they go off, which means we are going to go racing this next lap. Does mean that Martin Berry and Setawan Santosho are going to be massively disadvantaged because they are quite a long way away from the tail of the safety car train, as is Alex Liu in the Elegant Racing Mercedes. They've got to get a wiggle on to get back to the back of the safety car train. So what should we watch out for once we go back to green flag racing? Well, the number 45, Frankie Cheng, down in 15th position. Pole position, remember, in this collection of drivers yesterday, and he is only 15th, so watch out for the 45 when we go back to green flag. Silver driver versus AMS in front of him. All of them are AMS in front of them. There has been a change, of course, for the AM lead because Ben Porter has dropped into second position behind the Garage 75 Ferrari. That's because of his extra 5 seconds in the pit stop. And so we'll have a battle there with the Indonesian driver Timpian Toro and Ben Porter trying to get back that win. Back to green flag racing. Down the inside, Tony Rand looks on Blue Way, but there was no opportunity there. Got to get used to a brand new set of names for the second half of this race. We've got 13 minutes remaining, 13 minutes for Frankie Cheng to put the hammer down. Bob Wan's just ahead of him in 14th position. We know how good Bob is as an AM driver as well. Remember, a completely new set of drivers in these cars and a completely different opportunities then. You can see just further back there, Anthony Lee looking down the inside for a 10th position. You can always spot Anthony Liu because it's such a bright coloured car. All looks okay at the head of the field at the moment, doesn't it? Zhu, Ibrahim and Lu Wei, the top 3. Then a gap to Tony Wan, who's got Tiao Chi in 5th position, looking strong on the flashes. Then Brian Lee is in 6th. In the 55 is Louis Hangcheng. And Here is Lu Wei down the inside of Prince Jeffrey and gets that one done. Lu Wei, a very, very strong amateur driver, could be on for another Origin victory here. Didn't see this car finish yesterday's race. Lu Wei only managing to do one lap, but that was pretty decisive, and he's looking very, very strong, isn't he? If you've got yourself live timing on the TSL website, then it will help you show all of the movers and shakers across the field, because there'll be lots going on and we can only show one thing at a time. Tony Warren under pressure in 4th position from Jiao Qi. And there's Brian Lee. Actually, Brian Lee's lost a position to Lui Hangcheng. Actually, forget about the Ferrari 96 there, that's out of position. That's putting me off, that silver car. Shouldn't be there, but it will be quite fast. So he's got to kind of stay out of the way. Good progress from Anthony Liu up to 9th position in 37 Porsche. And the 13, they are a lap down, so they're trying to get out of the way as well. Around the outside comes Frankie Cheng on board with Bob Wan. I think he's got Frankie to his left-hand side. There he is, just behind the graphics, pops in, and Bob then losing a position to Frankie Cheng, who's already up to 11th spot. Now, if I'm Bob Wan there, I'm going to sit behind Frankie Cheng and follow him. Let Frankie do the work of opening the door. There's some damage, actually, for one of the, I think the Origin 86 that was, looked like it had damage. So Kieron Lee's had contact somewhere. At the head of the field, though, no change. Kieron Lee chasing down Mike Zhou. You get the feeling that that might change pretty shortly. Then there's a gap. Tony Warren holding on at the moment to 4th position. And then that's that big gaggle of Porsches behind. Porsche's the most represented in the field, with 12 cars entered over 6 Mercedes. Jiao Qi, again, trying to put his nose down the inside of that BMW. Remember how good they were in race 1, BMW? They're also racing for Silver Am honours, and they're leading that comfortably, so Jiao Qi needs to be careful here. Oh, very ambitious around the outside from Jiao Qi. Loses the rear end, but holds on to it, and it kind of puts him in a switchback position, which may work for the Mercedes. We know how strong this car is on the straight. BMW on the inside, though. Full 4th position, and if I was Maxime Hussein, I'll be getting onto the radio to Tony and saying, Tony, you're leading Silver Ram. Don't do anything too rash here. You've still got full points for our category. There's no overlap there. Oh, spinner though. Lui Hangcheng has gone around at the final turn and losing position after position after position. Riders are going to be careful there. He's going to not be able to move until everybody's gone past. That's a real shame for Winnie Harmony Racing. Lorenzo Patrese in that car for the first stint. And he loops it around and off he goes once again. But he has dropped to very much the tail of the field. Lock up from Lu Wei. 8.5 minutes remaining. It's a couple of laps, isn't it, for Lu to get through. Frankie Cheng up to 9th position now, so into that overall points paying positions. Points for top 10 in overall. I wonder whether they might look back, Phantom, over the weekend and think that maybe they should have had James Yu as the driver 1 and Frankie Cheng as driver 2. They'd have that opportunity to do that because they're both silver, so they can have a choice. Oh, and a big dive down from Anthony Liu to move himself up ahead of Brian Lee, and Lee getting properly muscled off the circuit there. The GTO Racing Porsche is going to lose a chunk of positions. It's put Anthony Liu under pressure from Frankie Cheng, and Bob Wan's done exactly what I said he would do, stick to the tail of Frankie Cheng and inherit huge amounts of positions. So this is now 6th position, I think, because Cao Qi, yes, is still ahead. So this is 6th, 7th and 8th. radio. Tell Anthony Liu not to panic. Frankie Cheng is not for position. Cheng to the inside of the final turn. Lovely job, easy pickings. But now Liu needs to shut the door because he doesn't want to let Bob Wan through, because that is for class honours, and actually Bob going a little bit wide. Now, this is an interesting one. Ahead, Tao Chi defending from the 96. Oh, mistake from Tony Nguyen. And then Tao Chi goes down the inside and into 4th position. And now, oh, the leader spun. The leader, Mike Zoy, spun out of the lead of the race. But Mike Zhou, Ralph Aaron with such great pace. And was there contact from Lu Wei, or was it all on his own? Let's have a look. Oh, I would say there's possibly contact there. We don't need that, not with 6.5 minutes remaining. Oh, no. There could be a penalty coming Lu Wei's way. Mike Zhou out to the lead of the race to the tail of the field. Lu Wei potentially with contact. Under me comes the number 10 GTO Racing of Brian Lee. Had there been contact there? Was there contact between the number 37 of Anthony Liu? We saw the number 10 sort of disappearing on the bottom of shot, but the 10 is now in the pits. So much happening at the end of this race. 911 has got himself a penalty for track limits. That is Wang Zhouwei. They're down in 14th spot. Tony Liu now. Tony Ruan, sorry. Defending from Frankie Cheng. This is the 4th position, I think, unless Tao Che has already managed to move his way up. Yes, he has. So Tao Che is up into 2nd spot. His timing screens haven't yet taken into consideration the disappearance of Mike Zhou. Still got to remember that the 96 Ferrari in the middle of this battle is not for position. Bob Wan leaning on Anthony Liu here as they come out of the final turn. This is for, I think, 6th perhaps. I'm not sure how Mike Zhou is still at the lead of the race, having some spun. A great little battle here from Anthony Liu and Bob Wan. Now that Ferrari ahead of them is not for position, that's 1 lap back. But Andy Dung showing how good he could be. He's let Frankie Cheng pass, so Frankie Cheng has now got Tao Chi to get past. And where is... No, there's no way that number 2 is still leading the race. Timing getting a little confused. So it is the number 4. Okay, now it's starting to correct itself. That Lu Wei leads, but potentially, was there contact? Will there be a penalty coming Lu Wei's way? Might not find out before the end of this race. Prince Jeffrey in 2nd position in the 99, and then Tao Chi in 3rd position, but going to be under pressure quite soon if it hasn't changed already from Frankie Cheng and Tony Ruan. There's the BMW ahead and the Audi ahead of that, so Cheng is ahead of Ruan, so that's 4th and 5th, and then we're watching 6th and 7th there. There is the gap between 1st and 2nd on the road. There's Tao Chi in 3rd position. There is Frankie Chen in 4th position. Then Ruan in 5th position. Liu in 6th. And Bob Wan in 7th spot. Okay, so forget about the tower for the moment. That's how it is. And there's Sean Dong making some progress as well. 2nd of our silvers. Tell you what, I'm excited to see what Sean Dong can do when the 2 of them are together. Oh no, which Mercedes is that? Pulled off to the side of the circuit. A little bit too far away. The 44, which is 2nd Climax Racing car. Dennis Chang aboard that car now. look how tight this is. Battles wherever you look. We've got 2.5 minutes remaining on board with the 500. I can't even tell you what position this is for right now. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all on the same part of the circuit. There's the AM leader. No, Ben Porter's still second in AM. And round goes the 500. Oh dear. Nerfed around, I'm afraid. Oh, and there's Mike Joe recovering. So Mike Joe down in, it's around 20th position, isn't it? But actually, Ben Porter's second in AM because Garage 57 doing a really 75 doing a really good job at the moment. Further up the field, yes, incident involving car 2 and car 4 is under investigation. Please, race control, could we have a decision before the end of the race? We've only got 1 minute and 45 seconds left. This is absolutely chaotic end to this second race. This is what happened to the 500. A little nudge from Mike Joe, and round he goes. That could be a penalty for the number 2. From so much promise, it's been a bit of a disaster for Climax number 2 in the end. What a shame. Drive-through penalty to car 51. And unsurprisingly, also, they have made a decision and is a drive-through penalty for Lu Wei. Hasn't come up on your graphics yet, but I have it with me on live timing, and he's already doing it. He's already in the pits. So good effort to respond to that. Because this basically must be the last lap. But there is Lu Wei. How many positions is he going to lose? It's still a fantastic battle on circuit as well here from Anthony Liu, defending from Bob Wan for his life. Side by side into turn 1. Further back, we've also got the 46 and the 16 going on side by side. As you say, wherever you look, as the 14 comes out, the number 4 comes out behind them, so that's going to be about 10th position for Lu Wei. And that has put Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, His Royal Highness, at the head of the field. There is the 99. We are in Malaysia. His father is the king of Malaysia. And we are about to have Prince Jeffrey, who has not done a huge amount of racing for the last 2 years, on the top step of the podium. This is huge. Still with a little bit of flappy bodywork. They did get some tape on the right front corner from the damage from Alexander Sims. Well, it even sounds American, doesn't it? I love it. Timer hits 0. So next time he goes over the line, last time by. Here's Tao Chi. This is for second position now. Frankie Cheng, 15th, don't you forget, when we went back to green flag racing. And he's going to get himself up into second. He's not going to chase this man. There's no chance that His Royal Highness is going to be caught. We are on the final lap. The car is squirming around. Just a couple of corners then to go. I'm not sure Frankie's going to have enough corners to get himself ahead of Tao Chi. So Craft Bamboo, from a rather lowly weekend, are going to pick up a second position overall for Tao Chi and Jade the Jada. But the story in national newspapers around Malaysia will be His Royal Highness Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim taking victory on home soil in a brand new Johor Motorsport Racing team. Wow! And I don't know where those noises are coming from, but there is a crowd making some serious noise with that news. There is Alexander Sims doing what he needed to do in race 1. That is only Corvette's second ever victory in GT3 racing. And there is the fist out of the window, because that means a huge amount to him. 2 wins to Prince Jeffrey's name, but you have to go back a few years for them. He has won here in the past. But did the Asian Le Mans Series last year. Raced with us in 2023, but the successes really came the year before that. really does set up Corvette, JMR, and His Royal Highness for a stonking stellar year. They obviously had all the luck, didn't they, this weekend? There is, by the way, the winner of the AM category, Christian Colombo and David Giantoro. And in the end, Ben Porter, I think with all that kerfuffle, dropping to third in class after his storming victory yesterday. Bob Wan with a bit of damage, I can see, to his underfloor splitter after some pretty combative racing with Anthony Liu. It was Bob who actually ended up in 5th position ahead of Anthony by the end, and they were at it. And it was actually for 3rd in Pro-Am, it has transpired. I don't know if we've got any further investigations still pending. Let's look at race control. I think they managed to get all the decisions made before the end of the race, so a big round of applause to race control as well for doing that. It's always nice to have a checkered flag and have a result. I think Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim is going to be quite happy, don't you? He has not stopped waving out of the cockpit of that Corvette since he got that checkered flag. Every single marshal around this circuit is getting a round of applause from him. The lights are flashing. He's got one hand on the flasher, the other hand is out the window. He's probably steering the car with his knees. Absolute joy. It was all nice and calm, wasn't it, with our pros at the first part of the race, but how it kicked off after our safety car. What an end. The highlights are basically the second half of the race. It's absolutely unbelievable. Just a bit of tidying up to do. The number 2 did get a drive-through penalty for that contact with the 500. That was kind of expected. Very similar to the number 4 contact with the number 2, actually, wasn't it, for the lead of the race. But such has been the celebrations that Prince Jeffrey needs to get himself into the arch. And with Dad watching on, at least for today. Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, the Prince of Johor, is for this afternoon the King of Sepang, and the first to congratulate him is Prince Abu Bakar, his brother, who's had the success more recently in this series. But just listen to that crowd. There's been so much work that has gone into getting this team together. A massive launch party last week down by the Opera House. Big pressure on both Prince's shoulders to make this work. And it has all come to fruition. It was a good day yesterday with a 4th, but it is a great day today. It is a victory on home soil for Prince Jeffrey, and look at the smile on his face. There's Alexander Sims, who did the solid work in the early part of the race. The caps are on. Emily is down there. The photographs are being taken, and the party has only just begun. It's going to be a long afternoon. Let's go down then to Emily, who is with our top 2.
So we have Prince Jeffrey here celebrating with his teams. Prince Jeffrey, it's history. You won in your home country, in front of your people, in front of your king. Congratulations.
Thank you. Sorry, a bit dry. No, the feeling is just all over the place, you know. I'm so glad that my parents are here, everyone that came to support us. And it's our debut race here with the Corvette. And huge thank to my teammate and all the team that worked so hard to get here. You know, it's been a month of hard work, and it's very rewarding, I must say. And I'm still soaking it in, but there's no better way than finishing it first time in your home race and in front of the home crowds. And yeah, it's a feeling that I'll never forget.
And Alexander, as I asked you before the race, it is a new team, it is a new car, but you brought it here as a historical win. How are you feeling?
Yeah, fantastic. You know, JMR did all the right preparation with their new Corvette. They got on top of the car, understanding how it needs to work, so we were able to execute a good race weekend straight off the bat. And yeah, you know, the car felt great in my stint. And pleased to hand it over to Prince Jeffrey, and he did a great job to bring it home. A little bit fortunate with the way the racing went, but that's the way it goes, that's sport, so fantastic.
So once again, congratulations to both, to the team and to Malaysia. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. This is one for Malaysia. And you know, we talk about the Queen and the King being here today, but it's mum and dad to Prince Jeffrey, and that means just as much. They are the winners of the Pro-Am category. What a drive from Frankie Cheng at the end of that race, up onto the overall podium and winner of silver. A little bit of a fade from Tony Ran in the end of the race, but it was a safe one because he still wins the Silver Am category with Maxime Hussein by a decent margin. And then Christian Colombo and David Chiptio Piantoro in Garage 57, our champions in the AM category last year, solidifying Christian Colombo's early efforts. The overall result then, 3.2 seconds between the Johor Motorsport Racing JMR car and Craft Bamboo's Mercedes. Great stint from Tao Chi to hold on to that second position, to stay ahead of Frankie Cheng at the end of the race. Frankie finishing third overall, 50 with 10 minutes to go. Then Hussein and Wan. Bob Wan having an amazing fight with Anthony Liu by the end. Weirdly, 2 seconds was the difference between the two of them before on that last lap. So there may have been a little bit of extra contact there, because Bob having a decent advantage, that puts him onto the Pro-Am podium. And we move further down. Excited to see what can happen with the number 16 silver car second as well. The pros started race 2 in Sepang, and it was a nice clean start for our pro category cars, with Ralph Aron having an advantage into turn 1. Dorian Boccolacci being penalised for being behind on the front row of the grid, and down the inside Maxime Hussein in the BMW trying to make a move. It was firm, but it was fair across the whole of our fields, and right in the middle of the pack are Goji Zen Nissan getting a good view of everything. Hussein side by side with Boccolacci, 4-second position, and really getting their elbows out. But they also needed to preserve tyres and preserve cars to hand them over to their amateur drivers. Alexander Sims took most of his stint to try and get past Boccolacci. This was the best effort from him, side by side through the final turn, but then down the main straight, and even a little bit of kissing. And as they went into turn 1, it was advantage Boccolacci to the inside, a little bit of contact there, and Sims had to then settle for 4th possession before the pit stops. But success ballast and a penalty for the 37 meant they made it further back into the field, and Ralph Aron handing over to Mike Joe with a healthy advantage for Climax Racing Mercedes at the head. This incident for the 66 of Jordan Love brought out the safety car as he made contact with Anderson Tonotto in the Absolute Corsa Ferrari. Amateur drivers then going back to racing with just 10 minutes remaining and plenty of changes then, with Wei Lu getting himself up ahead of Prince Jeffrey, and then for the lead of the race making contact with Mike Joe, spinning him around. Joe goes to the back of the field. Lu Wei gets himself a penalty, and that meant Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim inherited the advantage at the head of the field. So much going on all the way through the pack. We really didn't know where to look. This was Mike Joe making contact with the 500 Nissan and getting a penalty for that. But the 99 suddenly was at the head of the field, unchallenged, and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, with his Royal Highness, the King of Malaysia, his father, watching on, took victory at home in a Johor Motorsport racing car. New for 2025, Alexander Sim was happy, but not as happy as the Malaysian crowd. Absolutely a historic victory for the Prince. Her Majesty the Queen of Malaysia down watching the podium ceremony. Both father and mother here today. And alongside her, her other son, Prince Abu Bakr, who unfortunately had no opportunity to get inside his 66 Corvette after that contact. Unlucky for Jordan Love. Well, all the grandstand has moved from being outside of the JMR pit box to being outside the podium now, and so this is going to be noisy.
Ladies and gentlemen and everyone, welcome to the podium ceremony of Race 2 of the GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS at Sepang International Circuit. We will start the ceremony with the GT3 overall winners. Please welcome with applause. Overall in third place, car number 45, Frankie Chen Kung Fu, James Yu Kwai.
Very, very strong second half of the race.
In second place, car number 31, Chao Tzi, Jaden Ojeda.
Gotta say, Tao Chi also very strong in that Climax Mercedes.
Car number 99, Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim Alexander. And now we gladly invite Mr. Abdullah bin Hassan, Deputy Secretary, General Management, KBS, to award the trophies.
Awesome atmosphere down there at the podium ceremony. The noise, so very strong for Prince Jeffrey. Jada Jada and Kao Chi getting second position overall. And that was very much thanks to Kao Chi's second stint.
Every moment is a photogenic moment, but now it's time for another rapid session. So first, please all give us a big smile to the cameraman on the podium. And to the crowd. So now I'm sure we have all the smiles, and it is now time for champagne time!
Prince Jeffrey escaping the podium after victory in the second race here in Sepang. He did it before in 2022 where he took victory in race 1 alongside Nick Foster, but that was not in a brand new team that he has created himself with named in his region's honour. JMR, remember that name, they've taken victory. we shall continue now with the rest of our podium ceremonies. And we will once again get Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim back up on the podium. Here is the overall standings after round 2, and the number 99 squad with the advantage of 37, playing 35 points. Jeffrey Ibrahim and Alexander Sims with the extra 2 points over Bob Wan and Leo Ye, and they fought really hard for that third position on the podium to stop Anthony Liu and Doran Boccolacci. How will that matter come the end of the season? As I was saying before, in 2022, Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim took victory in race 1 of the weekend. But that was not in a team that he has created, and he's got mum and dad watching. This is so much bigger. It is his team. It is his country. They've put such effort into being here. And you can see it on his face, the release of that pressure. Just need to go onto Johor Racing social media to see the effort that they have been putting in. Not just to build the car, to prep the car, to make sure there's a good car, but also to tell everyone about it. I do hope we get as much Alexander Sims as possible across the season. Obviously, works Corvette driver, does have priorities elsewhere for Corvette, but it'd be nice to get him a championship, wasn't it? Collecting the champagne. So they can spray the champagne happily on the podium with a weekend now finished. No need to preserve the racing suits for another day. A few more weeks before the suits and the helmets travel to Mandalika in Indonesia for the next round of the championship. And Jada loving to empty that bottle. So what about the effect on the global manufacturer standings after this race? BMW still with the advantage, Mercedes and Porsche. Corvette, of course, on that global standings, manufacturer standings, but outside of the top 6 for the moment. They are very well represented here in Asia, but less so elsewhere. So no real change in the order, at least. Corvette will be 7th, moving up in 8th position with 8 manufacturers, actually 10 manufacturers in total.
In first place is 45, Frankie Chen Kung Fu, James Yu Kwai.
So to the silver category, very excited to see what the number 16 guys can do with Rio and Sean Tong. Very, very strong in the second part of that race, but not as strong as Frankie Cheng. 15th position after the safety car, 3rd overall by the end, just 3.7 seconds off Prince Jeffrey come the end of the race. The 3rd of our silvers finishing down in 26th position. That was the car that was 1 lap down. 4 silver entries, and we did have 1 retirement, didn't we? And so Dung Yi and David Chen on the right-hand side, 3rd position. But excited to see what Dung Yi can do moving forward this season, because he looked, I mean, he was hanging out, wasn't he, with the top 10, getting out of the way when needed, but he was very much there and thereabouts in that second half of the stint.
And to your teams and the crowds.
So for silver, definitely Frankie Chen and James Yu leading that. That's 2 silver victories for them, isn't it? A retirement for the 16 yesterday in silver, and today a retirement from the 77. Craft Bamboo pulling into the pits after a few laps. So Frankie Chen and James Yu with an advantage. podium reset once more, and then we will go to our next podium. There is the Queen congratulating her son. Oh, I like that. The sons and their mum. That's what it means to them. To the rest of the world, to the rest of the country, two princes and Her Majesty the Queen. Silver standings then, as I say, Frankie Cheng with a full 50 points, and James Yu. Deng and Cheng in second position, and then both the 16 and the 77 retiring out of one of our races. So on the back foot, you'd say. Bit of a miserable weekend for Craft Bamboo, number 77. Power steering failure in race 1, and we didn't get down to what happened in this second race, but either overheating or power steering issues for that car. Right, on to Silver Am then.
And in first place we have car number 89, Luan Quan Fan, Maxime Austin.
Nice to see Porsche Center Okazaki on the podium. Kanemaru and Uchiyama there in third position. Silver Am, very competitive. And again, the 29 of Ron Huang and Akish Nandi ending up in second position, but Nandi really under intense pressure in that first stint. A very good recovery from Ron Huang, though, in the second stint. They ended up in 9th position overall. But really, the domination of the weekend, though, Max Hussein, a silver driver that is showing pro prominence. And a big smile on his face. Tony Rand, in the end, holding on to 4th spot. So a very solid second stint from him. Just missing out on that overall podium, thanks to Frankie Chen. They were on the overall podium yesterday, weren't they? So only 1 place less than they managed yesterday. Which means it's a full 50 points, doesn't it? To Tony Wan and Maxime Hussein. But with 10 Silver Am entries, highly competitive behind them. Absolute Racing's Porsche, Lamborghini, sorry, and Porsche Center number 25 on that podium. There are the points then. As I say, Team KRC, the full 50. Lamborghini, Absolute Corsa 36, and then the Absolute Racing 321 in third position. That is Daniel Liu, on the right-hand side there. With another Porsche, 4 spots. The timing screens are cleared, so I can't tell you where the 321 came today. Didn't see too much of Lee Chanyu or Daniel Liu.
Martin Berry!
So in the end, big changes in the AM.
In first place.
Domination yesterday from Ben Porter, third position today. I was a bit worried that EBM were a bit far behind come the restart with Setuan Santosho and Martin Berry, but Berry obviously did a very strong second stint. Got himself up into second spot. So the same 3 in AM as yesterday, 5 in total entered into the AM category.
We do have the Sepang's course on this trophy. This will be a memorable trophy for all the drivers who has achieved it today.
So it's just LM Corsa, the number 60, and
today it's photo session
the
time.
Elegant Racing number 30 that have been missing from our podiums. But that is the same 3 combinations
Last big photo
mixed up
for the
for
day.
today.
Gentlemen, please give us a big smile.
I do hope that we see Andrew McPherson back. That was Ben Porter's 60th race start in GT World Challenge Asia. And if Andrew McPherson is back with us in Indonesia, then he will start his 60th race in Mandalika. That is the next race in our championship. Super, super excited to head to Lombok, to Mandalika on the 2nd weekend of May for a race that should have happened a couple of years ago, but due to the pandemic was unable to take place and eventually cancelled. We've got it back on the calendar, and both the organisers and officials and drivers around the paddock all super excited for round 2 of the GT World Challenge Asia. There are our AM driver standings after round 2. Garage 75 just a fraction ahead of Ben Porter by 3 points, with Alabama Motorsport in 3rd spot. Thank you very much for joining us here in Sepang across the whole of our race weekend. It has been a pleasure to talk you through everything that has happened around the Sepang International Circuit. Rounds 3 and 4 in Mandalika coming up for you in the 2nd weekend in May. Please make sure you join us. Plenty more racing on the GT World Challenge website.